Last week we went hiking in the snow to Franklin Falls, east of Seattle. We had lunch at the cafe from Twin Peaks. Then we left Harbor Island Marina and took Ron through the Ballard Locks and into Lake Union to haul her out.
So they have taken the keel down to bare metal, the lead. Now they're going to put a coat of epoxy on the whole keel. And then the next part is to do the same with the whole hull. Take it down to the barrier coat and put an epoxy barrier on that as well. Hi, how's it going?
Good. This is what I'm talking about. You see this?
I had
the hardest part here.
Yeah, the soft
So
anti-fouling, yeah.
yeah, we're gonna have to take it to this, and then
Yeah,
if we burn here and through now, we're gonna have a lot of parts in there. So
yeah.
don't worry about that.
I think you're right. This is just too soft. It's easier with that machine, right?
Yeah, because you see how that should do that? It's a waste of time.
So that's from. You tried with that machine as well?
I tried with that, I tried with that, I tried with that. Now I'm gonna bring the AK-47, see if that would do better.
The heavy machinery.
Heavy machinery.
Sounds good. There's a lot of old anti-fouling here. So now they have just grinded the better part of it off, and then I think they need to do another grind to get it more smooth before they put on a new coat of epoxy on the whole hull. Yeah, it's a lot of work to take away this soft anti-fouling. It clogs the papers. I told them that I thought it was a better idea to just sandblast it or soda blast the hull, but they thought it would be cheaper to sand it actually.
A lot of moisture. Ripping down both these walls in here, prep it so it will be empty here and clean, and then we mount the anchor, the chain locker, and then we'll see how we're gonna solve this space in here. What we're gonna do. The walls were made out of floorboards and MDF with vinyl glued on top. Not a very suitable material for a boat.
Over the past months or so, we've been having a small leak from this dry seal here over the shaft seal. It's a Volvo Penta. I think they're called dripless. And there's been a small leak, so we have decided to change it. It's not very old. We changed it the last time when we were in Grenada. So what's that, like 2 years ago? So it should still be good, but since it's dripping and we're on the hard, we might as well change it. And maybe we just save this one and have it as a spare, because I think it's still okay, but maybe it's the shaft that has some grooves where the lip seals are sealing on the shaft. So I'm also going to move the shaft a couple of millimeters, so there's a new place for the lip seals to seal against. So we'll just remove or loosen these bolts and push the shaft a bit backwards so I can remove this. And I bought a new one. And it's a pretty simple design. You need to have water inside this pipe for the cooling of this. And between the seals out here you have some grease. Every 200 hours you need to grease this, put grease in here. And if you get too much grease in, I think that these seals get a bit deflected. And then that can start to let water coming in. And I think that's what's been happening with this one.
The bolts were super tight, so it took me quite some time with different techniques before I finally got them loose.
Yeah, that wasn't very easy, but now all of them are out. Let's see if I can get the shaft out.
I measure to make sure I don't pull out the shaft too far.
How's it going, Malin?
It's stuck.
Are you destroying the boat?
Huh?
Are you destroying the boat?
I don't hope so. I'm destroying this wall, trying to get this down. It sits with popnita, what do you call that?
Rivets?
Rivets through the aluminium balka. Don't know the name of that either. So I'm trying to loose them without breaking the styrofoam, because the styrofoam here looked pretty good. It doesn't look damaged from water, just the lower part, which I already removed. Okay, so yeah, slowly but surely it's coming off.
With the propeller shaft pulled out, I could now remove the seal.
You can see that there are some small grooves here from the lip seals in there from these. So I think I will move the shaft like 5 millimeters so it gets a fresh surface to seal against. So you need to put this grease in here between the lip seals, and of course it's a waterproof grease, but you don't want to have too much, because then you can deflect the actual seals away from the shaft and then it won't seal anymore. So you just need the right amount. There's this installation tool coming with the seal, and the reason why you need this is because the seals are pointing in that direction, because the water pressure is from this side. So you don't want the shaft to push those seals in that direction, because then it's really hard for them to come back in the right position. So when you put the shaft through it, you need to have this one covering the actual lip seals so they don't turn in the wrong direction. So the clamp needs to be fully together here. There's not allowed to have any gap between here, so you need to tighten these bolts all the way in.
To make sure the bolts won't be tightened too hard this time, I use a torque wrench.
The propeller needed some love as well.
It's full business today on Ron. They're grinding the hull outside. Pretty loud in here when we're working in here. Moving this stuff, and I think after this we're going to take up the new chain locker and see if it fits. Yeah, so now everything is removed, and yeah, now we just need to clean this place up. We'll see what we put on top of this. But we need to, if we're going to keep this insulation, we need to put some barrier for the moisture, because otherwise this isn't good.
In the last episode, we got 4 mounts welded to the chain locker. Now we'll take measurements for the holes and then bolt it in place.
I use flexible epoxy to seal the seam between the locker pipe and the chain entry hole.
It's good that one of us has big and strong hands, and the other one has small and flexible hands.
Yeah, the sanding is almost done here. The guys have been at it for a couple of days now, sanding the hull, and it looks really good. So there's still some epoxy on here, but because the hull is pretty uneven, there's some spots where the aluminum are now open. So they're going to put 2 more coats of epoxy on top of this, spray painted epoxy, and also on the keel before they put the new anti-fouling on here. And it looks a lot better. I mean, the fairness of the hull, it's a lot better after this sanding. To have removed all the old anti-fouling that was on the hull. The rudder on Ron is from composites, it's not aluminum, and there was some moisture down here that they're also fixing now. The epoxy coating is done. 2 heavy layers of epoxy on the whole hull. And there was epoxy before that, so I guess there's four layers of epoxy on the boat now. And today they're going to spray the anti-fouling. 2 layers of anti-fouling on the whole boat and an extra layer next to the waterline. The hull isn't perfectly even, and that's because it used to be faired when they constructed the boat. But the last owner, he decided to sandblast the whole hull down to bare metal and then just put the epoxy coating on it. So it looks a bit weird, but it's perfectly fine. It's just a better way to have control if there's any corrosion or anything like that, to not have a thick layer of fairing on it. So now there's only a total of 3 or 4 layers of epoxy, so that's really good. So you can see how the hull is constructed here. It's like plates this wide, and on the inside every one of these plates there's a thick bar. So it's really strong, but it's not as fair as it would have been if they had, had rolled plates like this. Even if this hull isn't very even, it's a lot more smoother than it used to be with all that paint build-up. So I guess we'll be a bit faster in the water now. So that will be nice. Speed is always welcomed. They are going to need to shift the stands and put epoxy under here and also anti-fouling, so I guess that will take another day. And yeah, so we'll see. But it looks really nice. Really thick coat of epoxy.
The anti-fouling we'll use is a hard ablative type called Seahawk BioCop. It's a copper-based anti-fouling, which you traditionally don't use on aluminium boats because of the risk of galvanic corrosion from dissimilar metals. But with a good thick epoxy barrier underneath it can be used safely. This way we'll hopefully get a better protection against growth, and it will also last longer than the softer anti-fouling we've been using in the past.
Our new mainsail is 1 meter taller and has a shorter foot than the old one, and that's why we're shortening the boom. When we changed mast a few years ago, we got a taller and more modern 9/10 fractional mast, but kept the old sails. The new main has the same sail area as the old one, but it's taller and goes all the way to the top, which the old one didn't do. This way the center of pressure on the sails will be moved a bit forward, and the pressure on the helm should be slightly more neutral now.
So I've made the cut. I really hope that my measurements are correct. They helped me at the mechanical shop just over here. Went really fast with just a chop saw. So it's a bit easier to do it that way, to get a straight cut. So now it's just to put everything back together, and we'll see. Maybe it's a bit windy today and we were in the hard, so I don't think I put the sails up today, but at least I will put up the boom.
The new length of the boom turned out to be perfect, and it will be very interesting to see how the boat behaves with this new setup.
It was time to shift position on all the stands and the blocks under the keel, in order to finish those areas as well. Stay tuned for next week's episode to see how the anti-fouling turned out and the major problem we ran into. Thanks for watching. Please give the video a like and subscribe if you haven't already.